All right, everybody. We're in the garage tonight. This is Saturday night, 8:25. This light is about to turn off, and then we're just gonna have the ambient light here in the shop. But I want to answer a couple questions on the Q&A post, and I think I would like to do this pretty regularly because you guys have a lot of good questions and good comments, and I think it would be good to try to respond to a lot of them, and it's just fun to interact with you guys. So we're gonna see what we can do tonight. I'm not gonna do all the questions tonight, but we're gonna get through a couple. Maybe if you guys want, we can do some kind of topic. You guys suggest a topic and we talk about it every month or something like that. If you guys would be down for that, let me know. But we had some more questions about becoming a man, what it's like to know that, when do you get to the point where you feel like you're a man, and there were two questions that were of the same vein from Poowinkle and Ivar Ivanich. I'm sorry if I'm butchering those names, but more on what it means to be a man. I was kind of discussing this with Baxter the other day, and it's kind of a relative term. It's not a relative term. Okay, let's look at it objectively and subjectively. Objectively, I would say that it means having a penis and two nuts in between your legs. Okay, that's the objective stance on are you a man? Okay, but there's plenty of people with two nuts and a penis that are not men. Okay, and we're not getting into the identification game here. We're talking about manhood. What separates the men from the boys? I think that there's a lot of things that go into this, and keep in mind, I say this almost every video, that I'm 23 years old, and then somebody's always in the comments like, oh, you're 23. I can't tell if they're being sarcastic or if they're being, or if they're being ironic or not. But yes, I am 23. I just say that because I want to give you, I want to let you know that my opinions at this point are not. You should take everything I say with a grain of salt. Now, is that a defense mechanism to say that I don't have to have good or correct opinions because of my age? No, I try to have good opinions. But what does that mean? What is a good opinion? Everybody disagrees. So all there is my opinion on these things. And that's what you came here for anyways. So I'm 23. Thus far, what do I think it means to be a man? I think it means it's a lot of things. I think that my first experience with manhood, and this might be relatable to a lot of other men, would be when you stop seeing your parents as kind of godlike figures. And you realize that they're just flawed humans like you are. That might be a first step into realizing that, would be that, oh, these people, while my parents were great role models. My parents, they're the best parents I could have asked for. But at a certain point, you do have to realize that they are humans like you, and you're all making value judgments, and you're all trying to figure out what this thing we call life is. What is life? trying some different rum out tonight. Pirate's Life. Cane Rock. I'm still formulating an opinion on it. I don't know if it's as good as the Bumbu. I do quite like the Bumbu rum. But I'll say this about being a man. If you are a man, if you're of the male sex, realizing that your father is like you, or you rather are like your father, and then realizing that he is a human just like you, and you can disagree on things, and what you want to do is try to emulate your father, take what is good from your father, and then realize what is unique about yourself, what is different from you and your father, and then take the good things and leave the things that you don't want to emulate. And this is when you start thinking for yourself. I think starting to think for yourself, making your own decisions, is a big part of manhood and a big part of being a man. Also, being able to take responsibility for yourself and for your actions, that's another huge one. Being righteous, being a good man. When things are tough, I'll tell you one thing. Then now this is related to work. A friend of mine was re-roofing his his brother-in-law's house. Now his little nephew came along to help, and his little nephew is probably like 12, 13 years old, and he had never worked before, and roofing is it's a lot of labor. It's a tough thing to do. And this little kid found out that it is quite a strenuous task to roof a house. And so through this, he would do some work, and then he was taking all kinds of breaks, all right? He kept taking breaks, and at a certain point, he just had his parents come pick him up and take him home, because he was not going to stick through the process of what it takes to work in a tough environment and do like tough labor. What am I saying through this? Am I saying that the only way to be a man is to work yourself to death? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying through this example is that being a man, part of being a man, is being able to do things that are necessary regardless of whether you feel like it. Little boys are not used to doing or having to do things that require them to put in effort past when they would rather just go do something else. A man, in my opinion, is somebody that is able to deal with tough situations and tough things and push on past their own internal discomfort. Being able to do the right thing regardless of whether you really want to do it, whether you're motivated to do it, whether, this type of thing. Are you capable of that? I think a lot of people in this, not to speak like an old geezer, but kids of this generation are so used to comfort that any kind of discomfort is seen immediately as some sort of evil that they really want to stay away from. Whereas back in the old days, say like my grandfather worked on a farm, he had to put up with that all the time, and that was just a part of life. If you wanted to eat, you had to work. So I think, does it have anything to do with bringing in pay or a dollar amount? No. It has everything to do with the will. Do you have the will to persevere? Do you have the will to do the right thing regardless, autonomously versus heteronomously, to use Kant jargon? That's a big part of being a man, I think. If your entire life is about seeking pleasure and just doing things that you really like all the time, and anytime you're faced with any kind of resistance, you just immediately give up, I say you're not a man. Okay? And manual labor has taught me a lot of things about this because newsflash, when you're working in 100 and something degree weather, framing, doing hard tasks, moving things, using your body all day, sweating, you're uncomfortable all day, but you have to do the task. Same with the extreme. I work outside all year. Okay, when it's freezing cold out, literally 0 degrees, and you have to work outside, you're not going to like that too much. Nothing works. Okay, mechanically nothing works. Your hands don't work. You're in pain all day. Do you like this? No. Actually, part of me does, though, because it's a challenge. It's something to overcome. Every day is something to overcome. You have to get over the day. I like this state because it's a battle. If you're surrounded by comfort constantly, you become you become a sponge. You just become nothing. I think that you need discomfort. That's just me, though. Okay? Those of you who are Epicureans, how's that working out for you? But, is anybody really able to be an Epicurean nowadays? I don't know. But I would, for myself personally, A, out of necessity, but B, out of I just think that this is right, which maybe springs forth from necessity, I think I would rather take the Stoic life over the Epicurean life. That's just me. So let's move on from that a little bit here. Latika Harrit, I think that's how you say your name, asks about existential crisis, marriage, suffering, and human relation. That's a loaded question. That's a good question. Existential crisis. I think I've said this before. Have I had an existential crisis? Absolutely. Where you realize that your life may or may not have any kind of meaning. And what do you do with that? Well, I think the most immediate answer is action. Do something. Find people. Interact with people. Get into a community. Start a community. Do something like that. This stuff sucks, man. It sucks. Being around people, a lot of times if you're not used to it, is horrible. You have to be in a state where, but it's good, it's practice. Nothing comes easily, all right? You have to put in the effort, put in the reps, okay, metaphorically, with people as well as the gym, work, anything, creative process, being creative. It requires work, not just inspiration. So the people like Jocko Willink and David Goggins, I like to make fun of them and be kind of ironic about these people. I think they have a lot of good things to say, like discipline equals freedom, that type of thing. That's a great mindset to have. You should be disciplined, like I was just saying earlier. You need to be disciplined. But in any field and anything, it starts off with discipline. You start with discipline. That's number one. Discipline comes first in anything. You need to repetitively do something, but then once you've gotten to a certain level of that, it should become something that you just want to do. That's the only way that there's any longevity. It starts off with discipline, ends up in love, in my opinion, with most things. Starts off with discipline, ends up in a genuine enjoyment. But an existential crisis, you're sitting around wondering what the meaning of life is. what your purpose is specifically, maybe you're not even worrying about what the meaning of everything is. I can almost guarantee you're not worrying about that. I probably think that you're just worrying about what your purpose is. Now, this is relatable to me because everybody, I think, should have a moment in their life where they're really questioning whether or not they're going to be a loser their entire life. This is good. I'm not sure if I like it as much as the bamboo though. This is a bit more boozy and less molassesy compared to the bamboo. I like the molasses flavor very much. It's good though. What was I saying? You're thinking about whether you're going to be a loser your whole life. I mean, I hope you've had that moment at least once in your life where it's like, I'm committed to not being a washed up loser that's like 30 plus years old in his basement, in his mother's basement, no job, no opportunities, no social life besides maybe a friend or two that you smoke weed with on occasion, DUI. Okay. I mean, I think that that's pretty, you may be there, and if you are, the most important thing is the mindset, the will to get out of it. All right, if you are there right now, God bless you. Get out of it. Don't be comfortable there. Get out. You should be so uncomfortable at that state. If you're not, you've died. If you're not uncomfortable in that state, you're dead. So if that is the case, if you're in a situation where you are uncomfortable, you're not satisfied, you're probably having existential crises. You're having an existential crisis of like, wow, I was born, I went down a varied set of things that I maybe could not or could have controlled in my life, and now I'm here in a place that I hate. That's a great thought to have. It is a place that you should hate. You should try to get out of it. Okay? Don't get comfortable jacking off on Pornhub every night, getting high, and playing video games all day. That's not a life. What you are. Somebody said this. It's probably Segru, honestly. All right. Probably, it had to have been. What you think about all day is what your life is. So what you think about all day is meaningless, such as I want to jack off because I'm addicted to porn. I want to play video games because my real life has no meaning, so I'll find some sort of superficial value in an artificial world, and that's it. Then you live a virtual life. Your life contains nothing. It's just virtual. It's not a real life. So what you think about really matters, I think. If you're thinking about important things and you're more importantly, doing important things, making impacts on people, being a force in your environment, making your environment a product of you and not being a product of your environment, to quote The Departed, I think that you're on the right path. But if you are just a consumer, I think you're on the road to hell. So of course you're going to have an existential crisis. First step, lift weights. Got that from Sam Hyde. That's a great step. First step, if you're jacked up like that, lift weights. This will teach you to endure hardship, like I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Start with that. Start reading good books. Start thinking about important things. You're not going to be able to get out of your vices immediately. These things take time. Start with something small, work your way up. Okay. Um, marriage. I've never been married, so I'm not the best spokesperson for marriage, but I would say marriage is, I think, a good thing. Okay. I've heard that the dating landscape is hellish today, and I've experienced a little bit of that. People are insane. Um, if you're speaking from a male perspective, women suck. Speaking from a female perspective, not my own, clearly I am a male, but from other females that I've talked to, men suck too. And I've talked to a lot of men that are not men, that are boys. If you're a woman, you don't want a boy, you want a man. Clearly. Now, all kinds of people have all kinds of different preconceived notions on what that may be. And this is determined by environment and what you've seen primarily from your parents. But then there's a whole lot of brainwashing in the media as to what that looks like. My best standpoint on that would be marriage is good, but marriage with the right person is good. How do you know it's the right person? God help me. The right person. That's a great question. I don't think anybody's the quote unquote right person. There is no the one. All right. There's all kinds of people, and when you date people and you learn people, you find out that everybody is a different subject. They start off as an object to you, a sexual object. You will immediately see a body and be attracted. You start there. Then you find out about the subject. The good people, the righteous men, find out about the subject. The knavish blackguards stick with the object, in my opinion. I'm not here to give you dating advice. But what do I think about marriage? I think it's a wonderful, potentially a wonderful thing. I would love to be married one day. It is a commitment. And from everything I've heard, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. Okay, there's struggles and hardships. And if you've been in a relationship for any amount of time, you will say, yes, this is true. All right. There's a difference between knowing somebody, dating somebody for quite a while, where you're finding out all kinds of new things about somebody, and you're really excited, and you're really in love, and everything is like Werther, like how Werther sees the world when he's in love with Charlotte. Yeah, everything's great. Now, you see, Werther kills himself before he's able to find out how life with Lotta really is. Now, this is where you guys should really be reading Tolstoy and find out about how Levin's marriage experience goes. I need to really need to finish Anna Karenina, because wow, what an amazing novel. I can't believe I didn't finish it, but Dostoevsky was knocking on my door saying, come read me, Brothers Karamazov, here it is. Do you want to read this? I said yes. So, okay. Moving on from marriage, and this is all in the same question, suffering and human relation. Suffering, I say it's necessary, I say it's good. God uses all things for the good of those who love him. Keep your eyes on God, follow God, and you will make it out of whatever suffering you are in. Okay, for the atheist crowd, go lift weights. Okay, no, seriously though. Suffering, regardless of if you believe in God or if you are an atheist, it is necessary. All right, if you are a Christian, look, honestly, suffering you will bring you closer to God. At least it did in my case. Even though I wasn't even a Christian, I still prayed to God constantly. I was still in constant conversation with the source, constant conversation with the Almighty. Even though I was like, look, I don't know if you're real. But it helped. So you sit there, you pray, and then you are quiet. And you listen. Be still and know that I am God. Okay, now let's translate that into an atheistic worldview, because I wanted to try to make this acceptable for everybody, because the atheist crowd is rolling their eyes at me. What does this mean for you guys? This means sitting still, and you could call it meditation, all right? Sit still, be quiet, address your thoughts. It's going to be hellish. You're not going to like it. Sit still, process, whatever this takes. Now, my brother would tell you to smoke cigarettes. I wouldn't recommend that, but at the same time, yes, I would recommend that. The most important thing is the will. The will to act, the will to change what you need to change, and the wisdom to know what you can change and what you can't change. Read Marcus Aurelius. Knowing what you can and can't change is the biggest step to finding out your inner peace. Now, you'll never fully figure out the things that you cannot change. But the things that you can change, the problems that you have, are the ones that you know that they're a problem, but you don't want to change them. Newsflash, the only person that will change them is you. If you have a problem, start changing it. All right, that's the bottom line, because nobody else is going to come in and save you. Change it yourself. Take responsibility. Be a man or be a good woman. Okay? My father used to be an alcoholic, and he always scoffed at the Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book. The big book, folks. Everybody who is an alcoholic read the big book. And in there's a prayer that is extremely helpful. And I cannot quote it to you verbatim, but those are the broad strokes of the quote. To change the things that you can, to not worry about the things you cannot change, but to the wisdom to know the difference. That's a huge key to life. Also, the oracle at Delphi, know thyself and nothing to excess. Okay? Human relation, I think you should have some. Find some people. I would say if you have to have those relations mediated through the internet is a great source. Discord is a great source. At the same time, beware, people on Discord sometimes are not normal. Sometimes be careful who you listen to, is all I'm saying. I have a Discord, so this might sound a little hypocritical. Discord is a great supplement for human relation. You can find and connect with people over Discord. The best thing you can do, though, is interact in real life, real human connection. Okay? I'm not saying anything negative about Discord, because I have one that you guys should get on and connect with one another and share your joy of reading on. And share what you're learning, share your experience, post some memes, post some music, talk about all that stuff. That's great. You should be doing that, and you might find some really interesting people on there. At the same time, don't shut yourself out of say you're completely alone. Something I've done for a while when I go through, because I've gone through spells of being lonely. Go somewhere alone and just try to find somebody to spark up a conversation with. You'll be amazed. Find just a random person who's sitting alone and you're alone. Go talk to them. I've had amazing therapeutic, better than therapy. Okay, I've never been to therapy, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But go find a random person that's preferably somebody that's older than you and just pick their brain. Now, you can make value judgments as to whether or not you want to replicate this person, but spill the beans. You will be amazed at how easily you spill the beans to a stranger where there's no impact on the rest of your social life with just a stranger. Go talk to a stranger, okay? Try it out. What's the worst that can happen? You get kidnapped and raped? That would probably be the worst that could happen. You get murdered? That might be the worst that could happen. You get brought into his basement. He turns out all the lights. You're stuck in a pit that he's dug for like 6 years by hand in his basement. He has a dirt floor. He's dug in a massive hole. This thing is like 12 feet deep. He puts you down there. You say, wow, how am I in this hole? It's a dirt floor. You're sitting down there. You make it out. Okay, you find a way to climb out. Now you're in this guy's basement and there's no light. And then you hear, he's got night vision. Now you're in a real trouble. You're in real trouble at this point. Okay, that might be the worst that could happen. But talk to strangers. All right, next question. Athos 96. How did you find your values? How do you find values? I don't know if you find values so much as you inherit them. Here in the West, we inherit values of Christianity and Greek thought. Also, since we're living in the 21st century, you've inherited a lot of ideas from Nietzsche. You may not even know it because you haven't read Nietzsche, you haven't read Plato, you haven't read Aristotle, but you're getting all these sources secondhand. And you may think, wow, these are really original ideas. You only find out that they're not when you read the original source. Where do I get mine? Primarily from Christianity. You're going to get a whole lot of that if you live here in America, or if you live in any kind of Western country. Christian moral ethics are so deeply ingrained here that you don't know it. I would say that if you're a left-leaning person, you have deeply been influenced by Christianity. You just think that Christianity is wrong. You think that it hasn't gone far enough in acceptance. You think that all humans are equal because of Christianity. I think that's my opinion. I was talking to my brother about this today. He says it's a evolutionary trait of empathy that's developed over millions of years. He may be right about that. Regardless, the empathetic response has greatly been increased by Christianity. So, if you think all people are equal, question yourself as to why you think that, and wonder whether or not that's because there's a God, and because there's a God and we are all his children, if that's what makes us equal. I would say probably yeah. But lots of people have lots of different arguments and lots of different thoughts about that. I'm not phasing those things out. I just happen to be I'm a Christian, so those are what I believe. I understand the difference. I understand the Hume Izzat. I understand the difference. I understand the facts versus values. I understand these things. But anytime anybody's coming to you with, well, this group of marginalized people we really deserve, or they really deserve our help, question why you think that we should help them. By what virtue? Is it a purely emotional thing? If you don't believe in God, question rationally, why are you doing this? And if your rationality is, well, I just feel like we should do it, I say that's a great thing. But I should probably not go any farther with that. How did I find my values? Like I say, I think that you develop them. I don't know if you just, I, I think that you start off with a base coat. Like when you're painting, you start off with a primer layer. Your primer layer is what you learned when you were a child through your parents and through your environment. When you get a little older, you start getting in a second coat, like a first coat of paint, which would be you starting to think for yourself. And then, because you're a dumbass and you know nothing, the first coat is not enough. Then throughout your life, you're trying to fill in the little gaps that you left. That would be my base assumption. I could be totally wrong. Who knows whether I'm on my first coat of proverbial paint, my second coat, my third coat, however many coats it takes. Hopefully, you would hope some people stop on the primer coat and never question their beliefs. I think maybe you should question them. I think maybe you should find out why you believe the way that you believe, and think about it. That's just me though. Yeah, that's a complex question, I guess, but that's a great one. Thank you, Athos96, for that. How to Deal with Lust by Marky Mark 174. How to Deal with Lust. If Marky Mark is a Christian, I think, and he's a man. How to deal with lust as a Christian male. That's tough, man. I'm figuring it out. It's really tough, especially if you're in a relationship. And for me, being somebody who walked away from the faith, I was fully in lust for a while. And you get kind of comfortable being that way. And so finding out what God wants from you, man, that's a tough thing, because I don't think God wants you to become a completely celibate. I mean, you can quote verses where it's like, the thorn in the flesh, the various things about lust, and if something in your life is causing you to stumble, cast it from you. I would say if there is the stumbling block of lust in your life, what you need to do is find a way to productively extinguish it. You're never going to extinguish it. That's the thing. I think that sexual drives there's nothing wrong with having those. Now, if you're jacking off all the time, if you're engaging in some sort of lascivious, lustful behavior all the time, I think you need to fix that problem. Now, how do you go about doing it? I don't know. I've never been addicted to any, like, the common pitfalls like pornography. I've never, okay, I'll open up and say, have I watched pornography? Yeah, I have. I've always been very cautious with it, and I always felt very guilty about it. And so I never really indulged in that fully. I understand that that's a big problem for people. How do you shy away from it? I can't give you a step-by-step guide as to how to do that, really. I think it's very destructive. I think pornography is a horribly destructive thing, and it's an addiction that a lot of people struggle with. Now, people would kind of maybe scoff at, oh, porn as an addiction? Yeah, man. I think it can be. Just talking to people. Um, and it's one of the most shameful addictions that you can have. Now, I don't know if that's what Marky Mark is dealing with, but just looking at a woman and lusting, yeah, that's a pretty tough thing not to do. Um, I would say what you should try to do is find somebody, find a girl, man. Find a girl. You're going to start off objectifying them. And then after you objectify them, I think that you should immediately intuit that they are a subject and not an object. Okay, if you're a Christian especially, you should be doing that. But they are subjects, man. They're not objects. But completely making yourself an asexual being is not the answer either. I think a lot of Christians get this wrong. I think that a lot of Christians just assume that because thou shalt not lust if you have even lusted after a woman in your heart, you've committed adultery. What does that mean? What does lusting after somebody mean? I think that that's a tricky subject. Maybe if you're taking your thoughts to a perverse level of sexual gratification with that person, I think that that constitutes lust, okay? But if you see an attractive, beautiful body, I think that God has gifted us with these things. You see an attractive woman and you're like, "Auga!" God put that in your head for a reason. Why would God... Back in the garden. Let's go back to the garden real quick. God made women beautiful for a reason. Women are amazing creatures. I love women. Women are beautiful. All right. But I gotta agree with, I heard Elisha Long say this, and I completely agree with it. That it was that was a big test for Adam. Can you keep your eyes on the most important thing, which is God, the source, the Almighty, your creator? Or are you going to abandon your the source, or if you're an atheist, your purpose, whatever that may be, for a beautiful creature, which would be woman? Woman! Will you abandon your purpose for a woman? Thou shalt not put the woman on a pedestal. She is just like you. And you must be a responsible man. You must look after the woman. I'm probably speaking total nonsense at this point. But will you keep your eyes on God, or will you keep your eyes on the woman? Will you sacrifice? Where do your loyalties lie? Do your loyalties lie to the Almighty, to your Creator, to the source, or do they lie with your lusts? Does your purpose lie in lower immediacy? Do they lie in mediation? Do they lie in higher immediacy? The love for God. There's nothing wrong with the lower immediate traits, but the ultimate is the higher immediate traits. This might be utter nonsense, but I'm just flowing with it, guys. I don't know. What's the cure to lust? I don't know. Cut your balls off. Don't do that. Find a way to use it. Find a way to glorify God with that. There's nothing wrong with enjoying your beloved. There's nothing wrong with enjoying her beauty. There is something wrong with carnally lusting after them and taking your eyes off of what God has given you, taking your eyes off of Him. like I say, this is probably a bunch of holy nonsense to a lot of people. Quit jacking off the porn, though, guys. Seriously. Just quit doing that, man. That's no good. I know that's easier said than done, but that's seriously something that you guys need to. You need to cut it out of your life. Okay, go watch some Andrew Huberman podcast on why you shouldn't do that if you're a scientific materialist. But I don't know if this is a good answer to the question whatsoever, but I wish you luck, man, and I really I'll pray for you on that. I hope you get over that. I don't think you're never gonna see. This is the problem. Don't think that you gotta fully get rid of it. Okay, being attracted to women is totally natural. Enjoying a woman's beauty, the Bible talks about this. All right, like women are beautiful for a reason. All right, and dating within Christian spaces is like such a weird formal thing. Like where you're kind of sort of trying to like dodge the fact that we are sexually attracted to one another. The quicker you can get over that and just be like, I want to have sex with you, the better. All right, when you have an understanding mutually of like, we're both sexually attracted to one another, but we are both also attracted to each other's souls. That's a great thing. That's a very important thing. But there's almost an expectation of like with a lot of Christians where we can't admit these type of things until you're married. Then at that point we're able to slightly acknowledge the fact that we have human natural drives, which would be a sex drive, libido. I mean, I think that's just dishonest. Just be honest with your girlfriend, with whoever that, and don't be sorry about it because there's nothing wrong with being sexually attracted to somebody. What you do with that, if you go too far with it, maybe then you run into issues. Okay, don't go there in your head. I'm speaking to Christians here. Don't go there in your head. Even with your beloved, it's hard not to do. But try not to. For the atheist crowd, how to overcome lust. I don't know, man. Just don't watch porn. Okay? Seriously. Quit doing that. I think we're going to end it here because the video is getting pretty long. I wish everybody luck in all their endeavors. All good endeavors. There's a lot of questions to get to on the list, but we only got to about 3 of them today. Or 4. Maybe it was 4. 3 or 4 of them. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you get some good stuff out of this. Like I say, this could be total nonsense. Don't take your life advice from a 23-year-old. This is just my input. So, all right. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.